About it yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it all goes down.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the TWSN Soccer Sitdown Show. It's been a few weeks. I mean, the festive season kind of happened. I'm Joe Camrota here with Max Marrero. How you doing, Max?
Doing well, man. We both just recently recovered from the old COVID, so ready to be back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And school starts up soon, so it's almost good that we got it out of the way. But
For
sure. Let's start off with your team, Manchester City. They are in the driver's seat for the Premier League title right now, and if we look at the table, they're clearly in first place, and they are about 10 points clear of Chelsea, they're on the same games played, and they are 11 points clear of Liverpool, who have a game in hand. So it's looking like City's going to run away with the league, and part of the reason is their depth. And they have Pep Guardiola, who's the best manager in the Premier League. And do you think this race is basically over, Max?
Basically, yes. Is it over? No, because City's inevitably going to drop points, right? I mean, like any team does. All these teams go in fluctuation of form. So I think that City's no different. I think City's just hit a really, really great patch of form recently. Obviously, they've won 11 straight. I think they're going to try to. My theory is I think they're going to try to tie their own record of 18 straight Premier League wins. Wouldn't be surprised if they manage to do that the way they've been playing. But if the Arsenal game is any indicator of the way that City's form is going to be, I think we're going to see a downturn of form. But I think a lot of what that performance in particular was just tired legs. They played Brentford earlier in the week, and they also showed signs of being tired. The fact that they're not in the we call it the Man City Cup now as a joke, but the Carabao Cup, the fact that they're not in that right now and playing midweek competitions, it really is going to help them because their next game is not till next weekend against Chelsea. So that's really big. And, a couple indicators why I think your assessment is pretty fair about the league being wrapped up. Look, City doesn't play any of the top six away from home for the rest of the year. All of the top six we played you guys started the year. We just played Arsenal, we played Liverpool, Chelsea, and obviously United all away from home already. So all the games that we play against the top six will be at the Etihad, which is huge for City. And, I think this will allow them to start prioritizing other competitions like the Champions League, assuming that they can get those points accumulated and the teams below them drop points. Look, the biggest reason why I think that the league could be over is not just the way that City's playing. I know I've mentioned that a lot, but it's also the fact that Liverpool will be losing Mane and Salah now in midseason to the AFCON. That's inevitably going to drop their form. And also, although Chelsea have a lot of their core players still there, Edouard Mendy's a huge part of what they do at Chelsea. And I think having Kepa there as the first choice goalkeeper for the next couple weeks, it could possibly affect them in a negative way. I'm not going to over speculate like Liverpool, but I think there's no doubt in my mind that that's going to affect them in some capacity.
Absolutely. And on top of that, right? I mean, just Chelsea haven't looked good recently. I mean, really ton of they look like they'd be fighting more for top four than the title. And then Liverpool, I've said this for months with AFCON, and also they just don't look as good as they did a couple weeks ago either. I mean, they got that draw at the Lane where they looked terrible. They probably should have lost that game to Spurs. And I don't know. I think they're going to drop a few more points here and there too. I think they have to play Arsenal again, right? And if they had to play Arsenal again, Arsenal look like they're on the up and up. So that could be a tough game. I mean, they ended up beating them pretty badly, if I remember correctly, last time the two teams played. But it was a bit of a weird game where Arsenal really gave it to them for the first 45 minutes or something like that. And then some great goals were scored by Liverpool and kind of put it out of reach. And Arsenal's better than they were then. So
Arsenal's far better than they were there then. And I know this is going to pain you to admit as a Spurs fan, but I know you're going to look at it objectively. Let's not deny it. This is the best Arsenal's played, in my opinion, in maybe 4 to 5 years.
They look great. I feel like I was wrong about it. I thought this was kind of like a purple patch, but I don't know what happened after August. But so starting in September, they kind of started to turn up. So I think it's going to be the top four race is going to be insane. I think it's between Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, and then I don't know about Man U, man. I
Manu's
really
not
don't
in
know.
that conversation.
I,
Manu's not in that car. They're not a good team. They're not in that conversation, in my opinion. I think it's really. I think Sunday's game between Tottenham and Arsenal is going to really tell us who's going to be the front runner out of those two teams to make it to the top four. That's not to say that the other team, so Tottenham beats Arsenal theoretically. I think Tottenham is in the driver's seat, but that doesn't mean that Arsenal can't come and make it interesting. I don't know if you want to talk about that game, actually. I'm assuming we probably will cover it sooner or before that. But if you want to touch on that, I know that's something probably of
yeah,
interest to
sure. I
you.
mean, why not? Conte basically after Spurs lost to Chelsea midweek in the Carabao Cup, he basically said this team is not even close to competing with Chelsea. He really said like this team is. He didn't really say they're trash, but he's like team is not on any level, which is surprising because I mean they were looking really good recently. I can't lie. Like
Yeah.
before that Chelsea game, I was like, damn. I mean, Conte's got this team looking.
I think they've done well about like holding their shape, and that's
Yeah,
Conte 100%.
but they don't have what they need, and I think this is what they need the most. And a lot of people might disagree with me, but they need a true 10. They need like a Christian Eriksen type player who could break down like a deep block because that's the problem they have. Kane's looked great under Conte. Son hasn't looked great, but I mean, this is what Son does. He'll have a couple months where he looks amazing, and then he'll ghost for another month. So this must be his ghost month. And then other than that, I thought the defenses look good. I don't like Emerson Royal on the right wing. I like Reguilon on the left. I mean, we don't have Romero yet, but they have, I think, Dyer, Davinson, and Davies isn't bad. But just overall, the team, they need a 10. They need someone who can really break down a deep block. And once they get that, I think they'll be in a much better shape. But
I
yeah,
couldn't
right
agree
now,
more. Yeah.
what do you say?
I couldn't agree more. I think their situation is. I think I'm interested to see how the team looks with Romero back in the fold. But also, the attack isn't the issue. I agree. I think it's really their issue is there's not enough creativity in the midfield to create a lot of chances, which is not leading to a lot of goals. Although we know that attack with Harry Kane and Lucas Moura playing and even Son, those guys are going to be able to finish chances, but you have to give them the opportunity to have those chances to finish. And I think that the midfield, although Dele's looked okay, he's not the most creative player in the world. Obviously,
Dele's
Tanguy
awful,
and
man.
Dombele is not that. So
I like it. I like Ndombele, you know this, but I mean, the thing is, he Conte's running the pivot of Skip and Højbjerg, and it just doesn't work. Skip is amazing. They play great when Skip's in the lineup. Højbjerg, though, I think Conte should drop him for an Ndombele or even a Winks, someone who can really. I don't know.
I think
They
you
need
keep
someone. They need to
Højbjerg,
bring
and
like
I
a
think
10.
you have. I think if you bring in a 10, Højbjerg works because Højbjerg is a decent box-to-box midfielder. He'll create chances. He's like a traditional 8.
Yeah, but
But
Skip does what he does, but better, in my opinion. And Skip can
Skips
progress the
look
ball.
good, but I just don't. Again, I obviously you're the Tottenham fan, but I'm just saying like Skips look good. Obviously, you're going to give him a chance, but I think if you bring in an established 10, that's going to allow a guy like Højbjerg, a true international, a senior player, a guy with a lot of experience, who is a no questions asked starter last year.
Yeah,
I think that if you bring in a 10, that's going to make Højbjerg look better. And I think that
maybe.
he's going to, like, knowing Conte, he's not the kind of guy that he likes to mess around and bring in youngsters a lot. I think it's a lot. I think he likes to bring in a lot of established players that. So I think nothing against Skip. I'm sure Skip. I've watched a couple Tottenham games and Skip has looked good. But I just think that if you bring in a 10, that's in turn going to make the whole midfield look better.
Yeah. I saw someone bring up the idea of bringing Christian Eriksen back because
I don't know how I feel about that,
right,
man.
I don't know how I feel about it either. If he wants to play and the doctors say it's okay, I'm with it. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, me personally, I don't think I could ever step on a pitch after that happened. That would scar me.
I mean, it's just you're going to be watching him play with that worry in the back of your mind.
Exactly.
Although maybe irrational if doctors are saying it's fine, but you care for the guy. After seeing a guy go down like that, you want to make sure that he's going out there with no risk.
Okay, so I mean, moving off Tottenham, let's talk a little bit about Manchester United and what's going on with them, because they fired Ole, which we both were waiting for them to do for a while. But it seems like a lot of the issues that are at the club are still there. Ralph Ragnick, he's managing now. He's the interim manager till the end of the season. He's going to turn into like an advisor, kind of director of football role, which I think will be good for him. The problem is, apparently up to like 10 or 17 players have like issues in the locker room, and there's like a huge like divide. There's like a civil war in the Manchester United locker room. And what do you think about that, Max?
Yeah, I think that's on the players, to be honest with you. I think the issue lies with the players. You know, Ragnick, although he's not a proven winner, he is a proven tactician. And I think that his system works. I think I've been saying this for a while. You know, with a system like that, we even saw it with Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. It's not gonna happen overnight, especially with players that are used to jogging down the field, not working hard to win the ball back. And you know, under Ole, who just kind of lets them have fun out there. And listen, part of having fun is working hard, but the working hard part was not there under Ole. I think we could agree. So now they're being asked to do a lot more than they were under Ole. These players have become complacent. These players have become lazy. And I think that's the issue at hand is not the system. It's the players in implementing the system and wanting to not do anything because their last manager didn't require them to work hard at all. They were among the I think they were in like the bottom half, if not one of the two worst teams in the league in terms of work rate and running down the pitch. I think they came out with a statistic that determines, you know, how much kilometers per game a team averages in running. And I believe United might have been bottom two, if not bottom half of the teams in the Prem on that category under Ole. Shocking, right? But look, I don't think the issue is Ragnick. Like I was going to say with Klopp, even Klopp, it took 4 years to start winning stuff with Liverpool with that system, finding the right personnel, getting everyone bought into the system. The fact that you have fans out here expecting that the 4-2-2-2 and you know, the Gegenpress system is going to work overnight. I'm sorry, that's just not how that system works, right? You're working with tired legs, you're working with lazy players. I think if United want to fix their situation, which in my opinion, at least in the league, it's far beyond repair. I don't think they're a top 4 team at all. I think they have to completely reshuffle their squad or use different players or find ways to work around it. Because I think Bruno Fernandes has been absolutely shocking this year. I think he's always been kind of overrated, but at least, you know, the quality is there. You don't even see the quality. You see him whining. He falls to the floor, complains. He's been inconsistent in his play this year, which has then contributed to a downturn in Ronaldo's form recently because there's no creative outlet for him.
He doesn't work in this system either because he doesn't have the work rate. He doesn't have the work rate to do it.
But I think if you have 10 players on the pitch, or I guess 9 players, not counting the goalkeeper, working hard, pressing back, you can get away with a player not doing that if he's giving you goals, right? It's Cristiano Ronaldo, so you have to give him some sort of benefit of the doubt. But if he's not producing on the pitch in terms of scoring goals, then I hate to say it, but he's at a point of his career where that's the only way he's going to impact games is scoring goals, not by doing anything creative. His dribbling has gotten worse. His distribution is abysmal. And, you know, it's not entirely his fault. He's 37. You're asking a lot of a 37-year-old besides just scoring goals. But he's fantastic at that. So I think I think they have to figure out their midfield situation. The fact that they don't have a true 6 is going to continue plaguing them. You can't, Nemanja Matic, although he's a decent player, you can't be playing Nemanja Matic as a 6 if you're considered a top 4 club nowadays. Maybe back in 2012 that worked. Can't do that now. I think you got to bring in an established 6, and you got to somehow find a way to bring Donny van de Beek in the fold. Donny van de Beek, in my opinion, you know, people want to rule him out as a bad player. He hasn't been given a chance. He's a good – listen, we saw the things he was doing at Ajax.
He hasn't given a chance under Ragnick or Ole. And I heard they're going to try to sell him. I heard he's causing some of the problems in the locker room. And I heard they're going to try to sell him.
They should. You know what? And you know what? I'm not one to encourage players to be disruptive in their locker rooms. But if I'm him, I'm in my early mid-20s. My career has gone nowhere with United. I feel like, the trajectory where my potential is heading downwards. And I think for my own sake, you got to demand out. He has to
Yeah.
demand out. So I don't blame him at all.
In my opinion, I just think Ragnick is a terrible manager. I think the 4-2-2 is just a terrible formation in general. You don't have really stability at all in the midfield. I mean, there's games where he runs it where there's only one midfielder. It turns into a one midfielder, and they just got Fred in the midfield. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
Fred's been okay recently, but some people will even say Fred's been good recently. But you can't have Fred as your lone midfielder. Like, yeah, I don't know. The tactics I don't really like, and then you just have this situation where Ole let everyone feel comfortable, and now it's kind of taken over to the point where people don't want to work. There's cliques in the locker room. They don't have Pogba back yet. He needs to come back soon. I think.
But dare I say he doesn't make much of a difference?
I think he does. I think he'll be big when he comes back.
I think the quality is there with Pogba, no questions asked. But I mean, he in terms of work rate, he was one of the worst ones under Ole. I just don't see him working well with this system that demands so much of him. He's not a guy that's going to work hard to win every ball back and try to make the right play. Listen, he has all the quality in the world. I'm sure he'll make a difference, but I just don't think it works with Pogba with his mentality.
What this whole situation reminds me of is the end of the Poch era at Tottenham, where players kind of just didn't care. The pressing went down. Like it was just like they felt like Poch was big brother. They called him. Like he didn't really care. They wanted him out, so they kind of like down tooled, didn't care as much, and even a little bit in the Jose era too. Like that's what this feels like at United. Like I'm getting flashbacks because it's literally like cliques in the locker room. Half of them like the manager, half of them don't. Half of them don't want to be there. Like I remember, there was a story that Toby Alderweireld. I mean, he denied it, but right when Jose came, he signed an extension. And he wouldn't sign one when Poch was there.
Mm.
So I don't know, man. United's in a bad place, and
Well,
I don't
let me
know.
ask you a question that I know we probably didn't discuss earlier. If United don't get top four, like I don't think they do, does Ronaldo stay?
No, and I think that works out better for United.
I think it does.
I said it from the beginning. I never thought that they never should have went after Ronaldo. It's stunting Greenwood's growth, and Greenwood, in my opinion, has the potential to be a better player this season than Ronaldo.
I think as a 9, I think the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, I agree. Play him at 9. That's what they need to do. But you have Ronaldo. You kind of forced to play him. You can't.
I think the situation was Ronaldo was rumored to go to City. If you're United, you're the team where Ronaldo really burst onto the scene. You have this obligation to bring him. It's like I don't even think he was part of their plans because no one suspected Ronaldo was going to leave Juventus. But once his name was out there with Manchester City, I think as a club like United, you have an obligation to bring him in, regardless of what your plans are. So I think they did the right thing. I think that when you have the opportunity to bring in Ronaldo, especially if you're the club that developed him to be at the level where he's at, you got to bring him in. But I think they could have done better in trying to fit him in the system more and have him contributing. Although I think, yes, like I've said earlier, he's a pure goal scorer. It's clear that Ronaldo isn't necessarily bettering the situation at United, and I'm saying collectively in terms of cohesion, in terms of leadership. Although he had the badge on, look, they lost to Wolves. I don't think he's making as much of an impact as he could be, especially as a vocal leader, as a veteran of the group.
Yeah, he said. I remember there's a quote that came out. He said, "United is in a lot worse situation than I thought." It's bad over there, man. Like, I don't know. I think he should have went to City. I think if he went to City, he would look great in City. He would look great at City. And now he looks washed. He looks washed at United.
You put all that quality in the midfield, he's inevitably going to get goal scoring chances. And I would not doubt that he'd be still among the leaders in Europe in goal scoring with that midfield, because that's just what he's so good at. So listen, I'm not losing sleep over it, though.
That probably makes City Champions League favorites with him too.
Sure.
I mean, you could argue they already are. I mean, but you put a certified, legendary, all-time goal scorer on that team, who really just has to sit there and poach. Yeah,
that's what City really needs.
Yeah,
they need a guy that can get them 30 goals a year, if not more.
And speaking now of kind of transfers, we'll talk about some of the ones that already happened. But Who do you think City's going to bring in this winter transfer window? Do you think they go after Vlahovic?
No, I don't think they're going to bring in anybody in January, to be honest with you. If they do, it's probably not going to be a striker. I think they're going to save up the cash to try to make a push for either Vlahovic or Haaland. I know it's going to sound a little ambitious. I think Haaland is the one they really want. I think they're going to do everything in their power to push for Haaland. And frankly, right now, knock on wood, I think they have a really strong chance of getting him. I think the only team that has a chance that could stir him away from City is if Real Madrid does the theory that we've discussed before, which is bring in Mbappe on a free, you sign Haaland to team up with him, create a mini Galacticos. I think that's the only scenario where he doesn't come to City, to be completely honest with you. Because if you think about it, the other suitors in the Prem already are set. You know, Chelsea just paid whatever 100 mil for Romelu Lukaku. They're not buying it.
We have to talk about that too. We will.
We'll discuss that a little bit later. They're not going to buy.
No chance. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea's kind of starting to be turned off from Bundesliga players too.
Sure.
Kai Havertz hasn't looked that good. Werner has looked awful. I mean,
Pulisic has been kind of spotty.
Exactly, at best.
But hey, playoff Pulisic showed up when they needed it most against Liverpool. So
of course.
Listen, when the team is down and they need a goal, playoff Pulisic is there to answer the call. But you know, if they're looking good, you know, playoff Pulisic goes to, you know, mediocre Pulisic. I'm trying to play on with the P, but I don't know what else to say.
Left wing back Pulisic.
Right, exactly. But no, I think look, Chelsea's not going to get him because they bought Lukaku. Barcelona literally cannot afford him.
Mm-hmm.
And although I also think even if they could, why would he want to go to a club that's probably going to finish outside the top four in Spain? Madrid, I think, are genuinely strong suitors. United aren't going to get him because I don't think he's sold on to wanting to join a team that's probably going to be in the Europa League. And also, there's no clarity on the Ronaldo situation. They may want to develop Greenwood. I don't think United are suitors. I think, you know, obviously Tottenham have Harry Kane. Even if they finish top four, I don't think they're going to go and buy or spend 100 mil on a player like that. And PSG, I think they're going to do everything in their power to try to keep Mbappe. If not, I just don't think they're an appealing enough project for Haaland to go to the French league. And also, the last one is Bayern Munich. I just think they're going to stick with Lewandowski for a few more years. I mean, they don't have a track record of spending that much on a player. I just don't think they will, frankly. And I don't think Dortmund should let them. I mean, Dortmund needs to stop buying and selling players from Bayern. You know, although it's a release clause, I just don't think Dortmund's going to put him into a position to go there. So I think the only two teams that really have a chance are City and Real Madrid. And right now it's a toss-up, but I would have to lean City.
What about Liverpool? I've heard they've been kind of linked with them a little bit. Salah
re-signed. He's obviously his contract's running down this year. I think they're going to do everything in their power to get him back, and I think they will end up getting him back. They're going to have to pay him a really high wage. But I just don't see FSG being the kind of ownership to spend 100 mil on a player.
Yeah.
They're right now rated. I think they're probably more likely to make a winter signing because of AFCON than they are a summer signing like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be shocked if right now there's a rumor that they're going after Porto's Luis Diaz, who's a winger. I'm sure you know who he is. They're willing to pay roughly 60, which is on the higher end for FSG. And honestly, I could see them, you know, spending that much on a borderline panic signing for the winter because of AFCON. And I think if they do that, there's no chance they go and spend 100 mil on Haaland in the summer. So now I'm going to put in a kind of a crazy take here. I think they could be in the mix for Vlahovic in January, though. If the rumor is Vlahovic is going for like 60, 70, I think they 100% put in a bid. Maybe not 100%, but I think there's a strong chance they put in a bid for 60, 70 for Vlahovic. I
can see it. I mean, the question is, do they really want to go for another number 9, though? They have Jota and they have Firmino.
Yeah, I think Firmino's time at the club is numbered, to be honest with you. I don't think he's been featuring nearly as much, and he's been too inconsistent. Jota is, at the end of the day, he's playing 9, but he's not a 9, right? At the end of the day, he's not a 9. But again, he does fit that system so well with Mane and Salah that, you know, what do you do? But I mean, I think if you have the chance to sign Vlahovic with Mane and Salah, I think you do it, you know?
Maybe. I wonder if they want to keep that kind of like Bobby Firmino type of 9, where a guy who can kind of sit back and kind of pass up, almost like if you played Dele at a 9.
Like for the link-up play.
Yeah.
I could see it, but I think I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little ambitious with Vlahovic, but I just think that if the rumor is because he was going for 100 mil over the summer, Florentino were not taking anything less than 100. Now it's looking like they're leaning to that 60, 70, which is still really expensive, but not 100. So that puts them in that FSG Liverpool, like the higher end of that FSG transfer budget.
I think he flops, by the way.
What's that?
I think he's going to end up flopping.
I mean, I think it really just depends on where he lands.
Like his XG is like awful.
Is it really?
It's like he's like close to he's outperforming his XG by like 8 goals or something like that. It's like insane. And I
just see they just brought in Piatek at Fiorentina. I don't know if you saw that. They just brought him in on a loan with option to buy, and everyone's speculating that means that Vlahovic is leaving in the winter. So
maybe. I mean, I know Arsenal want him. Arsenal.
He would be. I think he'd be a great fit at Arsenal. To be honest,
if Arsenal get a 9, they're certified top 4. Certified top 4.
I mean, to be fair, Lacazette's played really well as that link-up guy, but if they could bring in a guy like Vlahovic,
yeah,
that's a real team.
I don't know why he doesn't want to go there, to be honest with you. Like he said, he does not want to go to Arsenal. I don't get it.
He might be more inclined now with the way they've been playing. If they look like they're almost not a shoo-in, but if they're looking like it's more likely they're going to be top 4.
Yeah.
In the Champions League.
Absolutely. But going back to transfers, let's talk a little bit about Coutinho coming back to the Prem.
Mm-hmm.
He's now he's at Aston Villa. And do we think he can kind of revive his career there, or do you think kind of he's a finished player?
I think it's too soon to say. I'm going to say it's like a 60-40 that he's able to play, you know, or at least show flashes of being the player he once was. I don't think he'll be obviously as good as he was when he was at Liverpool, but I do think that he can be anywhere from 50 to 75% that player. And if he is, that's a heck of a player for Aston Villa and a hell of a Jack Grealish replacement, if you ask me. But I think the fact that Stevie G's there, well, Stevie G's the reason why he went, but I think Stevie G's going to put him in the right positions to succeed. You know, although they were both teammates, Stevie G, no questions asked, was, you know, the manager on the pitch. He knew he knew to put Coutinho in the best situation. He knew where the best passes were for Coutinho to go on and score and contribute. So I think it's no different him being the manager. He's going to put Coutinho in situations to that in itself, you're going to see an uptick in form and an uptick in confidence because he knows that he's going to be a bona fide starter week in and week out for that team, for Aston Villa. And the fact that there is no certainty about him even playing in a match at Barca, that derailed his confidence and in turn derailed his form. I think you're going to see a revival to a certain extent. But to answer your question, I can certainly see him being very close to that player at Liverpool, but not quite there. I think that part is lost.
You know, speaking of Aston Villa too, I thought they were going to be a lot better this year than they have been.
Sure.
But I think under Stevie G, I think he's a great manager. And I think that this is a great signing for them. And I think it can maybe help turn that team around. I'm not saying fight for top 4. I'm not even saying fight for Conference League. But I think they could push top 10 with this signing. I think
they're a mid-table side, 100%, or at least top half, possibly, like you said.
Yeah. Like,
so I could definitely see it.
Coutinho, I think this is a great signing because I just think Barca was a terrible situation. Like, I think we're going to see him. I don't think we're going to see him peak like, oh, he's going to be a top 5 player in the Prem again. But I think we'll see him be like, this guy's got some greatness still. Washed king almost. So I think this is going to work out huge. And they got him for pretty cheap too. I think it was around like 20 million or something like that. 25 million.
They're paying like 75% of his wages with no other fee associated and obligation to buy. I don't know what the obligation to buy is actually. So I don't know if they've announced that, but if it's 20 mil, it's a hell of a bargain.
Yeah. He needs to get out. Barca's just a terribly run club.
Well, listen, they gave what, 55 straight up plus 10 million in installments for Ferran Torres. Explain to me where they got that cash.
Money laundering. That's why I've kind of had a joke about Emerson Royale with some of my friends. I've said he's a Barca money laundering scheme because there's no reason he should have cost 30-something million.
He
You
is.
should have took Spurs should have took Tomiyasu.
Honestly, Tomiyasu's far better than him, if you ask me.
Yeah, I've been saying this. I never wanted Royale. Never wanted.
Listen, Royale made sense for Nuno because he was a genuine right wing back, and Nuno likes playing with the two wing backs. But here's the thing: technically, he's not gifted enough to play that role. Look, like
No.
I watched your game. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sad to admit he looked awful because just technically he just put in the wrong passes. Like
He can't cross. He's
He
like
can't
a wing back.
cross.
He can't cross. And it's like, what are you doing? And
it's
it's
crazy.
funny because teams always they overload the left side. They're like, we're going to give Emerson space because we know he can't do anything with it.
Right.
So it's just him getting the ball all the time, crosses, and he's over there just trying to spam crosses. So Lucas is a better wing back than him. Lucas puts in better crosses than him.
Joe, he's a glorified attacking Wan-Bissaka. That's what he is.
Yeah, that's
He's
what
great at putting the ball up
He's
the
like,
pitch. That's about it.
we got a poor man's Wan-Bissaka, basically.
Yeah, because he can't defend like Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the pace of Wan-Bissaka. But what he does have is he has the ability to take the ball from the defensive side to the attacking side, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's awful. And who are you going to play over? Matt Doherty?
That's the thing. Yeah, you don't really have a lot of
And for
options.
some reason, Conte likes to play Doherty on the left, which I don't understand at all
That's
either.
bizarre.
Like he was playing left wing back the other night. I'm like, what's going on here?
I think you guys, I know we're kind of derailing back into Tottenham, but I think you guys 100% need a 10, like you said. I think you need – I want to see how Romero fits before I say you guys need a center back because I think Eric Dyer's look pretty good, actually.
Yes, and Davinson's look good too.
Davidson's look good. But it wouldn't hurt maybe to even bring in one more established center back for the back three. But I think also – I know he's going to extend Hugo Lloris, but I think he probably should consider another goalkeeper, at least for the long term. Like look at Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool against Chelsea, although Alisson is, the top goalkeeper, they brought in that Irish kid, Kelleher, and he looked pretty damn good. And he's only in his early 20s.
Yeah.
So he's
That's
their
the thing with Liverpool. It's always like their backups, right? It's not like City where we know their backups are great.
Right.
It's like sometimes the Liverpool backups either look really good or really bad.
Yeah.
There's no in between. It's never like, oh, this guy just looks there. It's like,
but dude,
they're
this
playing
guy
really
put
good.
Adrian as the third as a third string goalkeeper now.
Yeah.
Like he's starting over Adrian, and Adrian, although he's very mistake prone, he's an established Premier League goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
So this kid's good. I mean, I think that Spurs should take potentially. But that's kind of more drawn out. I think the immediate is a 10. I think possibly a center back, and I think a right wing back, 100%.
You know who we should have brought back, and this is going to kind of go into our next talking point, Kieran Trippier. He's now at Newcastle, but he would have been a great right wing back.
I think he would. I think his best fit would have been United, to be honest with you.
I could see that too, but
because I think at United that's what they're missing. They're missing those out spotty. Shaw has not really been featuring much for them. He's kind of been weird this year. And Wan-Bissaka's not creative in the slightest. So I think they're missing those outlets. So I think he would have been probably good for Spurs, but I think better for United, to be honest with you.
Well, now he's at Newcastle, which I don't really understand that move. I feel like there's a lot more things that they need than a right back.
But I think you got to start from somewhere. And to me, if you have, that's a pretty damn good deal. I don't think you pass that up, especially if he's willing to go down with. I mean, he already signed a contract till 24.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he goes down, is he going to be okay with playing the championship?
It seems to me that he might be.
Championship after winning the league with Atletico Madrid. Come on.
Or he maybe will request a loan out to a big club in the Prem just for a year or something. But he signed a long-term contract with Newcastle, which tells me he might be okay with that. But I think it was a fantastic signing for Newcastle. Look, I know this is going to sound really weird, and probably I'm in the minority in saying this. I kind of want to see Newcastle do well.
I like Newcastle. I wouldn't mind to see them do well.
So like I like that they're able to sign Trippier. Now they're rumored to get like Aubameyang potentially, or Lucas Digne is not going to be in the conversation, but I think he would have been fantastic for him.
I heard he might go to Chelsea.
That would be a really good fit.
Yeah, I heard Chelsea's interested.
I think you guys should make a push for him, to be honest with you. But again, he's another Reguilon. He is another Reguilon.
Doesn't make sense, yeah. Also, I'm kind of curious. Does Reguilon go back to Madrid? Does Madrid activate his buyback clause? Because
I don't think
a
they're
lot of
paying
people.
50 mil for him.
You don't think so?
Don't think they're paying 50 mil. Because think about it like this: they're gonna bring in Mbappe. They're gonna have to pay those wages. They're probably gonna do everything in their power to bring in Haaland. And assuming they succeed in that, that already depletes a ton of their budget. And they already are going to re-sign. He already said, Carlo Ancelotti said he wants to re-sign Luka Modric. They're probably going to bring in, I wouldn't be shocked if they try to bring in Pogba on a free.
I can see that. You think Pogba leaves? Because there's always this, it feels like it's always this ring around where it's
I think he has to. I don't think it's a good fit for him, and it's not a good fit for what the club's trying to do. I think that he needs to leave. The fans don't want him there anymore. I think he just needs to go. And I think Madrid, I think we'd see flashes, if not hopefully somewhat consistency. Like we'd start seeing flashes of the brilliance that Pogba can bring, like we saw in the Euros with France. I mean, he was their best player in the Euros, no questions.
Yeah, easily.
So I think if he can play like that, we know he still can. I think at Madrid, think about it. That's been his boyhood dream. He's always wanted to play for Madrid. And being able to play with those players, I think he would thrive, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So.
And Madrid will give him an actual, 6 behind him.
They're going to give him a raw. Right. They're not going to rely on him to do everything in the midfield, even defensively.
I'd love to see Pogba on Madrid. I think that'd be cool.
I think it'd be a fantastic fit.
I can see him. I see him at PSG, but PSG is also just built weird. I guess that's.
I think he would be a good fit for PSG, assuming that Zidane becomes manager after.
Well, you heard he might do that. They have like an agreement for him to come in over the summer.
It makes too much sense for him to not be the manager there.
But does that mean Poch goes to Man U?
I think so.
Wow.
I think Poch goes to like the Man U fans. So I have a lot of friends that are Man U fans, and listen, they're not irrational. They're pretty rational. But they are like, listen, Ten Hag, no questions asked. I just don't think that if they're Europa League, I don't think they're going to be that appealing to Ten Hag, especially if they have a lot of the same players they have now.
Yeah. Why would he want to go there when Ajax is a legitimate Champions League final contender? Like this year, they're legitimately one of the best teams in the Champions League this year.
I don't disagree at all. And I agree. And I think, Poch to United makes a lot more sense because Poch has wanted to. Poch has practically has not made it a secret that he wants to manage at United.
Yeah, he said, I think there's only 2 places he manages next. It's either going to be United or Spurs. Those are the only 2 places I can see him next.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think Conte is going to go anytime soon.
I don't think he is either. But I just know that's a place. I mean, Spurs almost signed him over the summer.
It's true.
They almost kind of went back for him. They almost tried to pull him away from PSG. And PSG people hate Poch. My question is, do you think Poch is washed?
No, I just think I just don't think he can handle those personalities, and that's asking a lot.
That scares me though for United. That scares me for him at United because they.
Yeah, but the difference to me is I agree actually with a lot of that, but I mean, you're still assuming Ronaldo leaves over the summer, I trust him as a developmental coach for the likes of like a Greenwood, even Bruno Fernandes, and I think he'll create an established identity for United, which is what they're missing. But what I do think is the issue at PSG is he is like, I think at United, there will be pressure for him to succeed, of course, because he'll be United manager. But I think when you have Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar, there's that pressure to succeed and win every game by a ton of goals and look good and dominate. And I just don't think his system suits those players very well. I think where he's mismanaging is he's playing Messi out wide instead of centrally. I think Messi, no questions asked at this point of his career, is not going to contribute nearly as much out wide than he would be as, say, a false 9 or even a 10. I think you play Neymar out wide, you play Mbappe down the middle, and then you put Di Maria out wide and put Messi centrally. That's how you're going to get the most output out of Messi. Everyone's like, where's Messi been this year? I think Poch, that's his biggest managerial, in terms of tactics, that's his biggest issue, in my opinion. He's mismanaging Messi.
Yeah.
I think, listen, Messi's not the same player he once was, but I think if you put him centrally and put him in a position to be more creative, that in turn is going to increase his total output and production for the team. But again, you're asking a lot of someone to manage those egos. Neymar is the most unbearable player to have on your team, period. He's the biggest ego in all of soccer. That's a big ask for anybody. So I think he needs to leave PSG for his own good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that team has one loss in the Ligue 1, and he's still getting he's a terrible manager to get him out. They have one loss. If you would hear the way people speak of Poch and of PSG this year, you would think they're fighting for.
It's because they didn't finish top of the group in Champions. That's all they care about, which they should, because we have a team like that. But either way, I think it really depends on how far they go with the Champions. I think the worst thing they could have done was drawn with Real Madrid. I don't think this is a good time to play Real Madrid. Real Madrid's looking decent this year, and I just
Vinny. How about Vinicius?
Dude, Vini's look good, man.
What a guy!
I like Vini. Yeah, but I just think that's going to be a really telling draw, because I think these are two teams that are in that third to contend. They're not quite for front runners for contenders, but they're a team that's capable of going far in the competition. Maybe not win it, but go far. And I think that this is going to be really telling, because if PSG get eliminated in the round of 16 to Real Madrid, I just think that this project is not going to work.
No.
So I'm really interested to see how that tie goes.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. I think, I don't know about it, because PSG feels like they scrape a lot of wins. It's not like they dominate teams. They kind of look terrible in the first half, and they come out and they win based on better talent in the second half. But I don't know, Ancelotti versus Poch, that'll be fun to watch.
That will be.
And before we go, do you have anything you want to bring up, or?
I mean, if you want, we can briefly talk about Lukaku.
Yes, I almost forgot about that. So Lukaku, for those who don't know, he basically came out with an interview saying he wishes he never left Inter Milan, and how he kind of feels like he did the fans dirty and stuff like that, and he's not really happy at Chelsea. And what are your thoughts on that, Max?
I think it was embarrassing, considering that they paid almost 100 mil for him. The fact that it seemed early on he was pretty keen to go to Chelsea and work under Tuchel, but because it's not going well, he's gotten injuries. He isn't getting nearly as much, creative output from his midfield as he wants, because in that system, that's a very defensive system. That's not a system that's going to go and score 4 goals a game. And Lukaku's not the type of player from a technicality standpoint that he's not going to create his own chances. He needs people to give him chances, and he'll put it away. He's a clinical finisher. And I just don't think that, I think he had to understand the reality of the situation and going to Chelsea. He needed to understand that is a defensive system, that midfield is not going to create chances for him nearly as much. And I think he had to have accepted that in order to go to Chelsea. And I think that the fact that he came out with this interview is it's unprofessional. It's shocking. And you know what? Hopefully they get past that for his and the club's own sake. But that's just a bad look all around. Horrible look. So I don't support it.
No, it's a terrible look. And how do you think Chelsea fans feel, and how Thomas Tuchel feels? He just comes out and says, "I don't want to be here." What?
It's just a shot. That's a shot in the chest.
He was begging for the move for Chelsea. He was begging to move to Chelsea, and then all of a sudden he's like, I don't really like it here. Well, no crap. They get the most production from Marcus Alonso and Reece James. That's their highest offensive production from.
It's true.
You thought you were going to be the guy who's going to do that? Come on. You must not have
but Chelsea have a track record of every single time they spend in that north of 80 to 90 mil range. They always flop, dude.
They can't get a striker. I'm convinced if Haaland went to Chelsea, it wouldn't work out.
Honestly, yeah. I don't think it would have either.
No, it was what was the guy's name?
Drogba?
No, it was after him. I'm blanking on the name. He was the last good striker. I think it was
Costa.
Carlos.
Diego Costa.
Costa. He was the last good striker.
Yeah.
Ever since him, They had no one. Morata's flop.
But Morata's Morata.
Yeah.
Like, he's the kind of guy that'll score you. He's weird. Like, he'll score in some of the big games, but he goes on a stretch where he doesn't score consistently and misses like wide open chances.
Yeah.
That's why I was kind of like, all the Madrid fans on Twitter, I'm sure you saw it when he was linked with Barca, they were having a field day with that. So, but he's gonna stay at Juve. But that would have been one of the funnier transfers I've seen in a while, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Barca be Barca, man. Take Ferran Torres and pay 65 mil. You don't have the money to do it, but
how are they gonna even register him?
They just registered him only because Coutinho. So Aston Villa is paying 65% of Coutinho's wages. The other 35% is he's just completely voided. He minimized his salary so that way they can, because they have the salary cap.
Yeah.
So that way they can register Ferran Torres. That's the only way they're doing it.
I don't remember I don't think did Aguero play one single match for Barca?
For the Barca, because he played a couple U23s to help with or to come back from injury, but I think he might have played maybe 1 or 2 matches. Yeah.
So I remember they couldn't register for him for the longest time, and then that stuff with his heart.
Dude, listen. City's trying to give him an ambassador role for the club. I'm so here for it.
That would be good.
It's sad to see the way he had to retire, man. It was really sad.
When's the statue being built outside the Etihad?
Listen, it's already in the works. I wouldn't be shocked if it was done by the end of the year. If not, yeah, probably by the end of the year, honestly.
Is that the most iconic moment in Premier League history?
No questions asked.
I think so, yeah. Definitely.
No questions asked. I don't think you'll ever see a moment like that, ever.
No, not at all. But that'll wrap it up here on the TWSN Soccer Sit-Down Show. Thanks for tuning in for another week. Joining with Max Marrero, I'm Joe Camrota. We'll see you next week. Peace, guys.
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet.